Welcome once again to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. As each and every week, I am still Chat Show. I'm so excited that you're here today because it's a very, very exciting episode of this particular, whatever the hell this is. Because my guest and I just finished working on the movie I've been telling you about for these many weeks. And we're both absolutely exhausted and completely high on bourbon. No, that's not true. But we're going to have some fun stories about our last 48 hours of work on the film and why it should have only been 24. I want to thank once again the Fallen Stars for the opening theme song and remind you, the viewers, that the contest continues. If you'd like me to mention your work, your band's website, your CD that's coming out, well, go ahead and write and produce a little theme song, you son of a bitch, and send it on in, and we'll prop that fucker up at the start of the show, and you'll be a part of this little sugar bang. The Fallen Stars, you can visit them at thefallenstars.com because they put all their imagination into their songs. It's creepy, isn't it? The fun part is that people tell me when they're watching at home, they think that their computer froze. Here's an exciting thing also that I wanted to share with you. The outro, I wanted to thank Kurt Smith also for the outro music that he wrote for us a while back. And also the new little clip package at the top of the show that I want to thank Alex Miller for putting that together for you. I only had to ask him once. And next week we're going to be doing the show out of the New York City, and as I finish up the Kevin Smith film, A Couple of Dicks. Craig Bierko will be my guest. I'm very excited about that. I saw him in The Guys and Dolls. As I told you, he was as awful as Oliver Platt was. He was brilliant. It was really, if you want the chasm between the and then when we come back, I love Oliver Platt. I should remind you of that. I'm one of his biggest fans, he being his first biggest fan. But here's the good news. Paul Scheer and Rob Hubel of Human Giant will be here the following, and then Bryan Singer, he the director of lots of motion pictures, one of which, of course, Superman Returns. The Simpsons sensation and cast genius of some 19 years, Hank Azaria, will be here also after towards the end of the month. We got some great guests coming up. But my guest today, I've been a fan of for a long time and met briefly the first time. I'll wait till he's on the show here before I ask him if he remembers the first time we briefly met, because that's always fun to catch that on camera. Because as you may remember, when I had John Hamm on and said, this is the first time we met, and he said on camera, no it isn't. And that was a fun moment for me. Yeah, we met briefly, and then when we were putting together the story for the movie Columbus Circle on the airplane, where we originally thunk it up. We had cast in our minds Cary Grant for this part, and it's a very Hitchcock sort of story, and so we wanted that sort of classic handsome guy who has his own sort of flair and charm and all of that. And I'm going to go ahead and check the list right now. Let's see. All the actors that we had in mind to play the Cary Grant part. Nope, I don't see him on the list. And then he was suggested to myself and the director, George Gallo, who the two of us wrote this opus. And when his name was suggested, I, of course, had been a fan for a long time and seen him in other things, and thought, oh, Christ, that's pretty sick. And let's see what he looks like with his mustache off and put him in a suit. And he blew everybody's mind and raised the level of the game on the movie, and I'm so unbelievably proud to have him. So please help me welcome Jason Lee. Hey, buddy. Now, I said that I would explain the Larry King game a little bit better. So what happens is we put this little guy up, and then you must do a bad Larry King impression, and then reveal something about yourself as Larry on the air for all the viewers, and then go to the phones. And this is the potentially fun part. When you go to the phones, it kind of helps if the name of the city is funny sounding. All right? So, at @my_leisure from the Twitter universe wrote this one, and will be receiving the latest stand-up comedy CD by me called A Little Off the Top. Again, available for about 20 bones, and then you could probably sell it for $6 on eBay. But this one goes to you at @my_leisure for coming up with this Larry King game. I found that masturbating with my left hand increases my psychic abilities. Squim, Washington, you're on. That's basically how it works. So, it'll come at the end of the interview.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll have all the time in the world to put the finesse and the final.
I'll have time to find out who Larry King is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I
Not a fan?
I don't think I've ever seen a Larry King show.
He's 107.
Okay.
Start there.
Okay.
And looks a little bit like a bug now. You know those giant glasses that kids put on sometimes, the big sunglasses?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are what his regular glasses look like.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a fun thing. So I was going to say this off the air, but do you remember the very first time we very briefly met?
No.
It didn't have much of an impact. It was at Disneyland, and you were there with family and Offspring and Giovanni and his, I want to say girlfriend at the time, and his daughter as well. Yeah, and it was right outside the, which ride was it?
Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain. And you guys had a guide. Jamie was with you.
You were there?
Yes. You guys had a guide, we had a guide, and our guides sort of chatted while we were all on the ride, and then when we came off, it was a very brief, hey, how you doing, how's it going? And I think you were more interested that the kids had a great time on the ride than you were...
Or I just didn't know who the hell you were.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what it was. Yeah, I was hoping you would say that. It's so odd that you actually did. So we more officially met on the set of Columbus Circle, and we can get into later at what point you actually became a fan of mine, but I want to start with, and we also actually didn't meet, but I almost came over and said hello. I saw you guys at the Beck Spoon MGMT at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yes.
What a great show that was.
Yeah, Spoon,
right?
Spoon is great.
Oh, unbelievable. That was an amazing show. You're born in Orange County.
Yes.
For God's sakes, right? And in that sort of oppressed, conservative, red state
Yes.
of itself. And how early on did you realize I'm not like these other people?
How do you know I thought that?
I don't.
I think maybe 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah. Always a little bit of a troublemaker, a wise ass.
Yeah.
I was always going to the principal's office as early as kindergarten, I think, if that's possible.
Me too.
But yeah, I think I was definitely more cut out for something like skateboarding, which is eventually what happened. I played a little baseball, and I kind of, I did what everybody else was doing to a degree. And then when I found, skateboarding, I was able to kind of go see the world.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really see much or have much exposure to anything outside of that.
Right.
Growing up in the 70s and 80s. But what saves a place like Orange County is the skateboarding, surfing, punk rock culture, which was a choice for some people who didn't want to play football.
Right.
And sort of go the normal route.
Yeah.
So I was attracted to that scene pretty early on. My older brother was the punk rocker and into skateboarding.
How much older?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a hero, the way most brothers.
Yeah, he brought the skateboarding magazines home, and he was the first to shave his head. And
how old were you when that showed up?
Probably, 12, 13, 14.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Other than that, it was definitely a place that I guess was kind of like what you see in the movies, the burbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, my brother's 2 years older also, and so when you're in those junior high or high school where there's three classes, going to the same school as your older brother, like I was a sophomore and he was a senior in high school. Did you guys go to the same school and have that thing?
He went to a different school.
Did he?
Yeah.
For legal reasons?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. He went to the school with kids who were paying attention, and you not so much. Yeah, that was weird for me. So I thought maybe you had that. Going to the same school was. So he's going to a different school. He's got a totally different group of friends. That
but
you
they're
don't
still
see.
able to. They're still picking on me. And you know what I mean? I
Yes.
didn't. You know, I thought, okay, that's cool that he's in a different world, but he of course brought that world home, and
Right.
his friends they like to pin me down and kind of
Fake spit.
do that
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
And, you know, that's why I'm claustrophobic, I think, because I'd get pinned down or locked in the closet for an hour.
Uh-huh.
And I would
And so
just
you
hear
thought-
laughing, you know, outside of the door.
Join him or kill him, you thought at some point?
Yeah, I couldn't though. I was really scrawny, really short,
Wow.
skinny.
Really?
Really skinny, really hyperactive. I mean, brutally hyperactive. And my brother was much slower paced than I was.
Oh, huh.
And he didn't like it much. Shut up! How much sugar have you eaten today? And he and his friends kind of beat me up.
Right. And so at what point do you, is the first reaction, why are they so relentlessly picking on me? Or is it, these guys are incredibly cool, why can't I be like them?
You know what? It was, no, I guess I thought they were dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like them.
Right.
You know?
Why are they picking on me is the...
Yeah, why are they picking on me?
Well, I did nothing.
I'm offering laughs. You know? I'm offering laughs.
I've got the smart-ass thing all worked out here.
Yeah, but
Everybody digs it at school.
It didn't really work.
No.
It didn't really work.
So they come home with the punk music and the skateboarding, and you're this little square kid to them, I guess.
Probably, yeah. The easy target.
Right. So, when you were at school at that point, were other kids doing the skateboard thing, or did it really come from your brother's influence?
There were other kids, I think.
Because it was around that time, right? 12 to 14.
Yeah, I still actually have a little plastic trophy. There was a contest at my elementary school. I think I was 12.
Right.
I didn't own a board yet. And, on the basketball court has the two keys like this.
Right.
And the school, cool enough, said, let's do a little contest, skate around that key, the basketball post, and then come around and cross the line like a figure eight. The fastest person to cross the line wins.
Crap.
I hadn't really skated since I was 5, 6 years old on one of those little plastic Kmart boards.
Sure.
A friend of mine had a board. I remembered it was really big. It had orange grip tape on it. And I said, let me try it out. Let me give it a shot and see. And I just jumped on it and I pushed around the thing the fastest and I got the trophy, which I thought was kind of cool because I hadn't really gotten into the world of skateboarding yet.
Right.
But I think I kind of remember it was because when I was 6, 5, 6, 7, I could actually stand on a board and push around. So
Right.
I had a little bit of that left in there somewhere. But I was also racing bicycles. That was a big thing to do in Orange County in the 70s and 80s was BMX racing.
Right. Huge.
So I'd kind of go back and forth between skateboarding and riding a BMX bike. I tried surfing a little bit, but I'm petrified of sharks, so I gave that up and stuck with skateboarding. And then it was in high school that I was really locked into the thing.
Yeah.
My grades started slipping. It was that's kind of typical. And
the lack of attention span in school, you were just bored with that.
I wasn't at all cut out for
Yeah,
school.
me neither.
Not at all
Just
cut
bored
out
to
for
tears.
school.
And the teachers didn't all seem that passionate about what they were teaching to me, which was made
No,
it
and it's
easier.
also the public school approach, which is more you've got a group of kids, we expect everybody to learn at the same pace.
Right.
We'll just kind of spout it out, read this, and we'll grade you. I remember there was never I have a problem with this, can you help? It was always everybody's at the same
Yeah.
level, or you're either ahead or you're kind of left behind.
Yeah.
And I would rather be skateboarding than going to school and having to sit there and, Mom, I don't feel well today. That was that sandwich last night or something. Can I just stay home?
Right.
And that's really the world where it's like that. Going to school is as normal as paying your taxes. There was never my mom was always really, really cool.
Yeah.
But when you're so kind of locked into the way things are supposed to be, you don't really question the school, college, and then sort of the normal route that everybody takes. I was always the kid begging my mom, let me just do my own thing.
Yeah.
And of course now in retrospect she realizes that was my destiny, I guess, or what I was meant to be doing.
It wasn't just too much sugar.
No. There was a lot of that though. And then I said, Mom, I'm not going to finish. I don't have enough points to finish high school. I want to be a professional skateboarder, so to hell with school anyway. I could give a shit about school. And she said, no, what? You're not going to finish high?
Yeah.
I said, just let me do my thing and see if it works out. And then shortly thereafter, I got sponsored and I became a professional skateboarder. So my mom...
When you made that request, though,
yeah.
you were 15, 16?
I was about 17 at that time.
Okay.
I basically dropped out my senior year.
Right.
You know.
So, but at that point, by the time you're 17, you kind of started skating when you were 14. By the time you're 17, you're not only moments away from sponsorship, you're kind of king shit in certain circles, I'm guessing. I mean, you couldn't have been a rank puppy at 17 and made this request, I guess is what you kind of made your bones a little bit?
Yeah, I had an idea that it was possible.
Right.
And I just wanted to just do the thing. I think early on there was always that thing where I would just kind of decide to do something, and even though my mom would fight me, she was not strict enough to completely shut it down.
Thankfully.
So she let me just kind of, she ultimately let me be the weird little hyper kind of determined kid that I was.
Right.
So thanks to her, you know, for that. She definitely freaked out, but I said, Mom, I'm going to do something with this skateboarding thing, believe it or not. And she said, okay. And then when it happened, she was very proud.
Sure. But imagine, you've got to go through her mind, let's see, how many hundreds, if not thousands of kids are having a similar conversation with their mother? Am I really going to be the one who gives in on this? Because every kid who can kind of do it immediately has plans of, I'm going to take over the world. It seems kind of normal for a kid. 17, not so much a kid though, starting to see a little bit of the other end of things.
Yeah.
And you're now acutely aware through magazines and through probably short film, if not video, what the real world of competition in skateboarding is like out there, right?
Yeah.
You've sort of self-educated.
Yeah, definitely.
On all of it.
Definitely.
You know who the best are, who to go after, where the scene is. And the scene you're saying was pretty hot in Orange County for skateboarding.
Yeah, but much, much smaller than it is now.
Right.
You know, this is pre-corporate sponsorship, X Games, skateboarders having their own reality shows on MTV. This was way before. This is the late 80s. So there were a few dozen pro skaters.
Where's Tony Hawk and all that?
He's the legend, you know, he's the most still, you know, the most famous skateboarder in the world.
But at that time, when you were breaking at 17, he was already king shit.
He would have been 19.
So he'd already taken over.
Oh yeah, he was Tony Hawk at 13. So, but it was, I think it was easier then, maybe, than it is now, because you have hundreds of pro skaters.
Right.
And everybody is so good now.
Yeah.
The 13-year-old kids these days are doing stuff that I could never do at 20, 21, 22, when I was more mature physically. It's beyond anything you could imagine.
Right. Now, I want to take this opportunity, if you don't mind, to give just a little bit of a glimpse. The quality that we were able to unearth could not suck more. However, and it's also going to look a lot worse on this monitor than it will for the folks at home. I want to just give like 2 minutes of a little film piece, and you'll tell us about who shot this and all the stuff behind it. Because I know for a while Spike Jones was a part of your circle in terms of the stuff that you were...
Yeah, he shot the first video that I was in from '91.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at this briefly.
I hope he pulled some good
of a young Jason Lee, and then trust me, it's him. You won't be able to tell because he's moving rather quickly, but we'll talk about it afterwards. Let's go ahead and roll young Jason. No clip. Sorry, couldn't get the clearance.
My hand on the newspaper box there.
Yeah, that was an end take. All right, so Spike Jones shot all that.
Yeah, most of that
Most of
footage,
it.
yeah.
And whose company were you skating for at that point?
Mark Gonzalez is, you know, still to this day one of my favorite, if not favorite, skateboarders. He was very revolutionary. In the 80s, he was the first guy to do a lot of the flip tricks and skating in the street, and he's 2 years older than me. And
Right.
he used to skate for Vision, which was a big corporation at the time. Big, big, big. And it was around that time when skaters started their own, you know, it was, skaters started their own companies. It was more about skaters owning skateboarding.
Right.
So he started a company called Blind, which was really legendary. And he took me on, and it was just the two of us for a while.
Wow.
And then he brought some other skaters, and Spike started out as a photographer for skateboarding magazines. And then he videotaped for the Blind video, which is pretty legendary still to this day. So that was really the big thing that happened.
And the fisheye was a big thing in terms of
So
shooting.
you could follow, you could skate behind the skaters and hold back then it was like camcorders.
Right.
And you'd put a fisheye on it, you'd hold the handle and just push and film the guys. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And now there's hundreds of filmers and all kinds of crazy technology, and people light scenes, and
Yeah.
here you just kind of jump in the car, charge the batteries in the camcorder and get some footage.
But
But now it's all very, you know,
Yeah.
it's all very set up, but guys are making insane videos these
But
days.
must have been a sense of guerrilla shooting in terms of
Definitely, yeah.
taking over. And you said that footage ultimately was collected from not all over town, but all over the...
Yeah, there's footage in London and in Paris and just around, just touring and you know, doing demonstrations and competing and bringing the cameras and just filming skateboarding kind of wherever you are.
And so how old are you when it takes you on this world tour?
I first left Orange County and went to Stockholm, Sweden, when I was 18.
With a sponsor.
Yeah, I was an amateur still. I hadn't turned pro yet. I went with Mike Vallely. He was a pro skater. We skated for the same company right before I went over to Blind. So my first time leaving the country was to go to Stockholm. I'm 18. And I remember seeing Sweden and thinking, God, nobody's talking about what's going on outside of this thing here.
Right.
And that's when everything opened up. And then I saw Hawaii and Tokyo and Australia and London, Paris, and all over the States. And that was like, I did not see that coming.
No.
I mean, when I grew up in Orange County, I had not really known about Hollywood, LA.
That was a long way away.
And it's 45 minutes from where I grew up,
Right.
and I never didn't hear about nothing. I mean, it was literally its own bubble way off on the other side of the galaxy, but really just 45 minutes down the 405.
Right. Well, a lot of that because you perhaps had not a lot of interest in that world the way you did in your present world as it was developing by the age of 17. Let's get back to the 2-year-old brother, by the way. When you start to take off to Stockholm, because he was a little bit into the skating himself.
Yeah.
What's going on there when baby brother starts taking over the world a little bit?
He was really into it. He was really into it because he eventually went on and started working, and he lived with my dad for a while in Mississippi when he was a teenager because he got into some trouble because he was, you know, a high school punk rocker.
Sure.
And so I think he really liked it because it reminded him of, you know, the way it was for us growing up, and to see me having taken something like that
Right.
instead of, I think, becoming the star quarterback.
Right.
You know, that was more appealing and exciting to him. So he was always really supportive. He actually got a tattoo of one of my skateboard graphics, which I thought was really supportive of him.
Yeah.
He surprised me with it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So mom's thrilled. Thank God this worked out.
Yeah.
Right? She couldn't have been more happy about it. And while you're on this world tour, you and Chris
Pastris.
meet.
I met Chris Pastris 20 years ago when I was still, I think, yeah, I was still, oh God, 22 years ago now.
Wow.
I was still not yet sponsored, I don't think.
Right. So while you're sponsored and touring, what's Chris doing?
He skates for, it was World Blind was started by Mark Gonzalez and the World Industries guy.
Right.
So I went over from World Industries to Blind, and Chris and I became friends. Mark leaves Blind. The guy who started World Industries, this is all very confusing, I know.
No.
Basically, World Industries started branching out. They did 101 with a company called 101 with Nodis,
Right.
who's a Santa Monica guy. He's a legendary pro skater. He starts Blind with Mark Gonzalez. So this guy's starting to branch out.
Right.
And Chris is on World Industries. I move over to Blind. Mark Gonzalez leaves Blind. And Chris and I decide to start a company together.
Right.
Because I didn't want to stick around and skate for Blind, Mark's company, after he leaves. So Chris and I start a company called Blue, which lasted about a year.
How old are you at that point when you start the company?
About 20, 21.
And are you thinking in terms of a business sense, but also that there's a shelf life on how long you can be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of, especially back then, because when I quit skateboarding, I was 25, and I was kind of old.
Yeah.
Now you still have pros that are 33, 34, 35,
Right.
and still signing autographs and making money, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Blue made about $9, as you would say. You like to use the number 9.
I do.
It made about $9 in the course of a year. We were really, really green.
Right.
But we knew we wanted to do something. And we were really into the Blue Note jazz era, and so we decided to quit, to cancel Blue and start a company called Stereo. And we did that out of San Francisco.
What do you mean you did it out of?
Well, there's a distribution company up there called Deluxe.
Right.
Super cool guys. And we basically presented them, we pitched it, we want to start our own company, and it's called Stereo, and here's the influence, the era, the palette, and they said, that sounds great, let's do it. And we had a good run. And that was...
And what was the company doing at that point?
In terms of product?
Yeah.
Well, we had a team. We put out a video in '94 and then another one in '96.
So you become the sponsor.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Where you take on guys and they skate for your company, and the pros, and they get signature model boards and the whole thing, and you make videos and all the standard stuff. And then '95, I get out of skating.
At 25.
I mean, again, it was like there were guys just kind of humiliating me on a skateboard. And, I had my own thing going, my own style, and I was really dedicated to what I was doing. But
And you had a shit ton of people looking up to you and your success.
You go through those insecurities, In retrospect, it was probably premature getting out of it when I did. But back then, again, you were older at 25 than you are now. And I just kind of didn't want to... I just kind of wanted to try something new and not feel like I was kind of milking it. And I think I was just a little insecure. And then I got out of it. Stereo kept going, but then took about a 2-year break around 99, 2000. Chris and I weren't really talking much. We didn't have a falling out, but I kind of went off and stumbled upon this acting thing.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, I started skating again at 33, every day. And finally I get in touch with Chris and say, I haven't seen you but off and on for 8 years. I've been skating again. Let's get the company going again. So we had a relaunch 6 years ago.
And before we get to the next phase of Stereo, I do want to talk briefly about the mindset of this pro skater, because in a sense you're a little bit of a rock star as you're on tour, and you mentioned the celebrity and the signing of autographs.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle for a 19, 20-year-old through to your mid-20s offers up a certain mindset, which is a self-image, if you will, my place in the world. So the idea of walking away from that, and you'd already become an entrepreneur within the industry, at a very young age, quite frankly, even though within that industry, in my lack of knowledge, there might have been kids at 18 that are rocking huge companies too, I don't know. But it seems to me to start this company and run it through your early 20s is, again, you're kind of captain captains within your own industry, in a sense. So to walk away from that and to stumble into acting, that's going through all the research on how you got from there to here. That transition, I'm pretty curious about, because it's a strange one. Because what's waiting for you is a shit ton of rejection, on average. I don't know what your personal journey was. But you can pretty much look forward to, as you start an acting career, not being a rock star. You know, it's like graduating from junior high and starting all over again in high school, or those odd transitions throughout one's life. Was Mallrats your first audition? Because I heard it was, and that's ridiculous. That can't be right.
You know, maybe once, maybe twice. I mean, I had a couple commercial auditions where you go in and you smile and you're holding the Pepsi can
and you feel like an idiot.
And you feel like, you know, you feel like a complete moron.
Like,
you know?
anyone can do this. I remember that being my memory. Anyone can do this. Why do I want this?
Yeah, it was a little awkward, uncomfortable, and so I was, no, that's not what I want to do, you know.
Right.
And then I think once, twice maybe, I read actual dialogue for a TV show. I don't really remember what it was for, though. And actually, I said to a casting director once, you know, I'm kind of doing this to get my feet wet and to just kind of see what this whole acting thing is.
Oh,
and she actually called
She loved that.
The person who would become my manager, who got me this audition, and said, "Don't you ever send me somebody who is using my time to see if they want to become an actor."
Well,
I was very innocent. I didn't know any better.
She wasn't wrong to make that call.
And to my fault, I wrote her an apology letter. To my fault. And for months and months after that, I really felt like I had given in to something that I didn't feel like I should have apologized for. And it kind of ate me up a little bit. Because it was that thing of you know, it's a casting director, somebody important, and I really need them, and oh, I don't want to burn a bridge, so I'm very sorry, Mrs. Whatever. And I felt a little...
Your reasons for apologizing weren't sound.
It was like PR reasons, or
yes.
Let's make sure everything's great and perfect, and because
I'm
launching a new career.
You weren't actually mature enough to realize that she wasn't wrong to call your agent and say, "Don't waste my fucking time with somebody who's wetting their feet."
Yeah.
She wasn't wrong to make that call. But you weren't aware. I want to offer up a brief intermission, I think, because I'm looking at the microphone. How is the sound in the other room? Fine. It's fine? Okay. So the brief intermission might not be necessary.
Oh, you're thinking my mic is rubbing against my Ted Danson? My chest hair?
That merkin that you're rocking up there in the chest area.
For you,
yeah,
because I know how much you love chest hair.
I do. I'm all about it.
I didn't do that button.
Thank God.
How about that?
Thank God. It looks.
Because I'm looking at you. You've got the same thing going on. You just don't have quite as much hair.
No. It's nowhere near enough, actually.
I've learned to embrace my forest.
Be the forest.
Yes.
I think is the mantra. All right. By the way, in terms of what just went down, I spent the first 8 weeks on the air looking at the camera and saying, "We're not ready." So there's a very loose vibe here, so I can ask these sound questions because I want to make sure that people are hearing what you're saying. All right, so you go through these couple of auditions. You're pissed off that you write this letter, and then how does the Mallrats, being one of your first auditions, how does that come about?
So I'd kind of given up on the acting thing
a
little bit.
Okay.
Still skateboarding. And basically, my girlfriend at the time, Giovanni's twin sister. So we're living in the back house in North Hollywood at the family house. We're living in the back house.
Of course.
And I'm watching a lot of movies, you know. Mark Gonzalez, the pro skater, who's also an amazing artist, and he was always very ahead of his time. And he was the one who really turned me on to music and movies. And he wasn't just your kind of typical skateboarder. He was really creative, and he was a big influence on a lot of young skaters.
Is that where the Blue Note influence came from?
No, not so. I mean, he was listening to John Coltrane. I mean, he was listening to Freddie Fender. You know, he was listening to the Talking Heads. He was watching Midnight Cowboy. He was, He was watching Marathon Man. He was watching Paris, Texas. And this guy's a 22-year-old pro skater living in Orange County in the early 90s. And there were a few of those really great left-of-center creative, very creative pro skaters like Neil Blender and Mark Gonzalez and Jason Jesse and Nodis. Whereas most skaters were kind of just almost like athletes,
right.
just skateboarding. And so these guys were really influential on the younger guys like us who were a little bit more creatively inclined.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm watching a lot of movies, and I'm really into the Coen brothers a lot at the time, Raising Arizona and Barton Fink, which I had on VHS.
Those
But
big old VHS.
I didn't know anything about acting or how movies were made or anything.
No.
And so basically, Gay Ribisi, Giovanni and Marissa's mother, is my manager now of 15 years. So I'm essentially the boyfriend of her daughter, professional skateboarder, saying, I really want to give this thing a shot.
This
What the
acting
hell?
thing.
Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me propose this. Get me an audition for a movie. Because I tried the commercial auditions in the guest spot,
And ended up writing
Let's
letters.
just do the movie thing. Fuck it. Let's just try it and just kind of cut through all the crap if it's possible and just try to get a movie audition. And if I get something within 3 months, you can be my manager. And she said, okay, to her credit, amazing woman.
Right.
Do you hear that?
That's her.
Yeah, she's coming. She's coming. To her credit, she didn't say, no, it's impossible.
Which
And
is pretty amazing. I mean, it's one thing to be supportive of your daughter's boyfriend who your daughter's in love with.
Yeah.
That's one set of guidelines.
Yeah.
But now we're talking mixing in business with personal stuff. And
Yeah.
that takes a certain kind of pro to do that, as opposed to saying, now, Jason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because I had later found out that there's sort of a standard approach to it. And that approach is, it's terribly difficult. I got to brave the storm and fight tooth and nail to get this thing done.
Yeah, you don't just walk into a film audition.
Yeah, you got to build up with commercials, television shows, and then maybe if you're lucky, there's this movie world out there somewhere.
So on the back of Gay Ribisi,
She says, let's do it. What the, she's very loose in this,
Right.
just, we matched up very well. And so this Mallrats thing comes up, Kevin Smith, I had seen Clerks, and Don Phillips, who had cast Marissa in Dazed and Confused, was casting Mallrats. So Gay called up Don and said, hey, would you mind seeing my daughter's boyfriend? He's not really an actor, but he's funny, and he's a professional skateboarder, if that helps. He said, that, of course that doesn't help, but because we're friends, sure, he can come in and I'll meet with him. I met with him. Gay called and said, what do you think? Well, he's certainly not an actor, but I'll let him read for Kevin Smith. And then I read for Kevin. All the boys had to read for the TS part, which was played by Jeremy London. And I think all the girls had to read the God, I'm in the movie and I can't believe I'm forgetting now.
I can have a staff look it up on IMDb if you want.
That's correct. That's good. Anyway, so I'm reading for this part, and I'm the worst actor you've ever seen. I mean, it's literally, what are you doing? Are you checking out naked guy? What are you doing? I mean, I'm the worst actor you've ever seen. And but Kevin somehow thinks maybe my awkward, my disposition there is funny or something, but I don't know what I'm doing. And he says, come back and read for the role of Brody. And I just worked on it and
With Gay. You worked on it with Gay.
yeah, and with Ethan Suplee, who was also in Mallrats.
Yes, of course.
And then somehow Kevin just said, all right, you got the part after a couple weeks.
How many auditions for Kevin? So just the two? One for
Yeah, and then
Ron part
Don
of
Phillips does this pizza party thing. It's brutal, where it's like a final callback. So there's 7 favorite for the guy roles and there's 7 favorite for the girl roles. They all come back and you swap partners and read these scenes while eating Pizza Hut, or whatever the pizza is. And of course I'm so nervous I can't eat. So I'm there 9 hours and they're slowly letting people go with a little whisper. You can go ahead and go.
Yeah, you really suck. You need
And I'm still there. I'm still there. I'm still there. Meanwhile, the pizza's 6 hours cold already. You know. And Kevin, at the end of the day, I think I'm the last one or a couple of people, and he pulls me into his office and says, "You got the part of Brody." Mid-bite of a cold piece of pizza, finally, because it's over, and you know that was that.
So, really, Don't Try This at Home seems to apply to how you went from awkward, no training, no experience, to one of the leads in a film that I don't know what the box office was like at the time. I can only look back on it as this sort of cult following that will never dissipate. It'll only increase. The audience that found that movie and loves it.
Yeah.
I want actually to, what happens is we involve the questions of the people watching, and it's usually to do with an area that we're in right now. So I wanted to take a look. Question here: what point did you really know you could make it as an actor? Well, that does sort of beg that question. Thank you, at 3Card Poker. You've got the job. The pizza's bad, but you're going to start this film. So between getting the job and actually starting the film, how much time passes there? Because all this is brand new to you, and I'm just wondering.
Maybe a month.
Right.
And I went out early, weeks early, because Kevin wanted to work. You're funny, you're not an actor, so you come out before everybody else, and I'm going to work with you on this dialogue for weeks.
That must have been good news.
It was great.
Yeah.
But then when we were on the set and we started shooting, I was very aware of the camera. I was very nervous. I didn't know how to move my hands. I didn't know how to present myself. I didn't know if I could swallow, you know.
While you were talking?
While I was talking, or lick my lips if they were dry during a scene. I had no clue. So I'm standing there just rhythmically going through this dialogue that I had rehearsed for weeks.
Right.
Okay, go up here, go down here. Okay, don't do that, do that. Okay, and all this math, essentially.
Right.
And then now just saying it, and there's the camera. What I was completely oblivious to, you know, how it all. As soon as the camera was there, it was. I froze. It was terrible.
And that took place while you were shooting?
While I was shooting, yeah.
And at what point during that process does Kevin say, "I've made a horrible, horrible mistake"?
I don't know that he did.
Were conversations happening between the two of you in terms of your awkwardness that you were feeling, and him? Was he just saying, it's fine, don't worry"?
Yeah, I mean, and for him it was really about tackling the dialogue and getting it a certain way, because he's very into dialogue, you know.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, for those of us who love the movie, there is very much a naturalistic style that you're putting forth as an actor, as opposed to a polished young actor who's been to that particular rodeo.
Well, maybe some of it was I was focusing on how to say my lines right that maybe I forgot about. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there were times where, at first especially, I was very frozen. But it definitely did loosen up. I mean, you know, I was so in my head with the dialogue that maybe eventually I was
you got comfortable.
Not aware of
something
what I was
happened
doing here. You know?
Something happened. I don't know if it was between you and Kevin, or you finding your way. You know, I mean, it'd be interesting to see in chronological order of the shooting schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did get comfortable.
Yeah, you did. And so, at what point during that process, getting back to the question, do you ever feel during it, I guess I can do this? Or is it awkward all the way through? Because it's not a long shoot, I'm guessing.
I think it was, no, it was...
7 to 8 weeks, tops?
Yeah. I think it was on Chasing Amy.
It took a movie.
Yeah. I did 2 little movies that Kevin produced for some friends of his.
Right.
In between Mallrats and Chasing Amy. Little $40,000, 16mm black and white movies. One of them was Drawing Flies. And
did those help in terms of
I mean, it certainly helped being on another set, different circumstances, different character.
Right.
Having gotten so used to Kevin, not having Kevin there, dealing with other directors, and okay, can I step up and
right.
So those definitely helped for Chasing Amy. But Chasing Amy, there's a scene at the little comic convention
Right.
where I make a little gesture to Ben Affleck's character about, are you guys going to reunite or, And I think I was more comfortable, so I'd goof a lot and play around and stuff. And Kevin actually pulled me aside and said, this is a little bit of a different movie, Chasing Amy. It's very funny, and you're sort of the relief, I guess, but there's more going on that you're going to have to think about.
Right.
And that's when I thought, think about? Wow, that's interesting. So you don't just try to be funny in front of the camera and say your lines and, so you mean I have to kind of really think and consider what's going on there? And
Listen
and, okay.
Yes.
And so that opened up something new there.
All right. And then you started to feel...
Yeah, and then just professionally as a career, Chasing Amy kind of brought interest.
Yes.
And then that's when I started going, okay, maybe something can happen with this thing. Let's hope so, because at the time I thought I was too old to keep skateboarding.
Right. Is that in the back of your mind? If this thing doesn't work out, I'm going back?
Yeah, definitely. And, I didn't finish high school, so I'm thinking, okay, let's just push this thing and see what happens,
All right, so is the business, the stereo continues while you're away, or it closed down when you walked away?
It still went.
It did?
For 4 or so years.
Okay.
And then Chris took a little break, went to community college, and then in 2003 we relaunched the brand.
But while you're doing Chasing Amy,
yeah,
stereo's still going.
Yeah, and I'm basically completely out of skateboarding.
Right.
For 8 years.
And Chasing Amy was much better received in terms of box office.
Yes.
Right? Wasn't it?
Mallrats made $9 when it opened.
Did it?
I mean, it made nothing.
I had no idea.
Kevin's View Askew is his production company.
Yeah.
I think his outgoing message that weekend, once they got the numbers, was, "We're not in right now. We're licking our wounds," or something.
Right.
To go from Clerks to Mallrats, $6 million budget, it made $1 million or something opening weekend.
Right.
But then, of course, would go on to become kind of a cult classic.
Oh God, yeah.
And with Chasing Amy, he did it for $250,000, I think.
And it opened.
And it did really well.
Right. Am I wrong in remembering that it's one of his most successful films to date?
I think so, yeah.
Commercial-wise? I'm pretty sure that's true. Dear God, someone correct me from our staff. You look back on Mallrats and the cult phenomenon it has had. I mean, that's from Brad 06. The question is, I think for those of us who've been fortunate enough to put together a body of work at some point, whether there's a detachment or a fondness for things like that. And I would think that Mallrats, as uncomfortable as you were during the production, what is that feeling that you get when you look back on that particular?
Kind of like the feeling I got when I first realized that I could actually control a skateboard.
Right.
And flip it and slide on it and jump with it, and suddenly it's something you get so wide-eyed when you discover that,
holy crap,
you're actually able to do something.
Yeah.
It was sort of like that. I mean, it was like Mallrats was like the beginning of skateboarding for me, but just a different career.
Yeah, a little electric thing.
It was very exciting, and I really tried. The way I did with skateboarding was always, keep in mind how fortunate I was and not take it for granted.
Right.
And I still try to do that to this day.
Right.
Because, Kevin could have said, you're not something could have happened to where, well, I didn't become an actor. And I don't know what I would have done, So I really just...
I think being in front of people throughout your skating career, the point I was trying to make about that, going from that rock star world, had to have informed a little bit your ability at some point to relax in front of the camera. Because when you're skating, you are in complete control. And your first days of the acting, you had no control. You felt lost in the headlights.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing at some point during the Mallrats experience, those two things started to click again, where
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable, I know what I'm doing, and oh, Jesus, everyone's looking at me.
Yeah, yeah.
There's that weird thing.
Yeah, that definitely helped, absolutely. And then also having been known for doing something helped in terms of, you know, that all of that helped acting as well.
Yeah. See, I had no, the reason I asked is because I had no formal training either, but I started out in stand-up comedy, so I was used to being in front of an audience, large, small rooms, and making those adjustments. And there's a feeling of control at some point where you are taking the audience on a ride, right? And the confidence that comes with that, as it would while you're skating, where you can flip at any point you want, that board. And so it was that comfort level that I was able to achieve in one profession that allowed me at some point to relax my sphincter in the other one.
Yeah.
But initially, the first person I read for, not too dissimilar, the first person was a manager, and she said, well, read this scene for me, let me see what you've got, you know. Because I came to LA with this big stand-up background. And
How was the reading?
Well, first of all, I didn't know what the phrase cold reading meant. I thought she was going to lower the air conditioning. I had no idea what she was talking about.
Oh, that's great.
And there's that ridiculous moment of where you try to, you know, you don't mind doing a cold reading, do you? That question, and you're literally...
No. The room's going to be cold.
That's what your brain...
And I'm supposed to read
right.
to see what my concentration level is like in a really cold room.
Or does she mean that I should act as if I'm very cold while I'm reading it?
I love you, Sarah. Right. I love you.
Does she want to see how I am with temperature? Is that the first test? So it goes so horribly wrong. She just looks at me when I finish for what seemed like an hour, and it probably was only 19 seconds, and finally said, how's the stand-up going? Is that...
I mean, yeah, you're going like this in one thing. There's going to be that initial dip,
buddy.
But you pick back up, and it's essentially the same. The psychology, everything's the same. It's just a different medium.
Yeah. Once you hit your stride, then you realize, oh, okay, well, this isn't brain surgery.
I didn't hit it, though, I don't think, until My Name is Earl.
Really?
Yeah.
In terms of?
Overall, just kind of ability to completely observe a set and feel completely a part of it.
Really?
It didn't happen until Earl.
Because I did want to ask, you worked with a favorite of mine, Cameron Crowe, twice.
Yeah.
And so those second jobs are not as easy to come by as everyone thinks they are. I've worked with arguably some of the biggest directors in the film world of the last 20 years. None of which have asked me to come back a second time. And so
that's surprising because you're pretty good in those movies.
Fairly
You're pretty good.
I mean, you would think one of them would say, let's do it again. So, I mean, my point is that it's huge to work with someone like Cameron Crowe a second time. So the fact that you don't feel you hit your stride until Earl is all the more interesting to me. Do you mean just from a comfort level, or I've mastered my own, whatever it is I bring to this, now I understand it, and I'm comfortable doing it? Because on Earl, obviously, it's all about Earl at some point. You got all these great supporting actors, and the show's written incredibly well, and all these things are in place, but the name Earl just keeps coming up, so you better fucking be ready, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's also every single day for 4 years.
Absolutely.
Versus this director, then you move over here, then you move over here for a couple weeks, a month over here, and then 6 months of not working.
And then television being a writer's medium instead of a director's medium, and now the writers want your collaboration. They want you to make Earl magic so that they're better writers. So is that when the real collaboration starts for you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's mainly on set, post the stories and being written. It's mainly on set and kind of just being aware now of where he's sitting in relation to her, and the energy, the tone, the feel, and when something doesn't work. I don't know that I would have known that before. I watch Almost Famous or Vanilla Sky. You know, years will pass, and then I'll see those movies and wonder how I got through it.
Really?
Yeah. Definitely comfortable, but I think I was just still more immature.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, so I stand here, and then I go over here, and what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Whereas I think when you mature a little bit more as an actor, it becomes more about what do I think?
Instinct.
What instinct? What do I think? How can we work on this thing together?
Right. Yeah.
Let's take a moment to really figure things out, because I'm you know, you're more, I think, when you're more immature like that, you're kind of a piece of something.
Yeah. You don't really feel like people want to hear what you want to do.
You're very intimidated.
That's
you know,
right.
you are intimidated,
Yeah.
you know, and
You're right. It's quite a threshold when you feel like, no, let's try it this way. That moment is maybe the threshold, I think, for a lot of actors. Because it can take varying degrees of time for everyone to get to that place, but that is the place ultimately where it all kind of changes. You're right.
and where you have to be aware of what's going on.
Because you're taking on a lot more responsibility at that point also.
Absolutely.
You're not just showing up and saying, I'll do my little part, it's somebody else's movie.
Yeah, and that was a difficult thing for me I couldn't really do that on Earl. I couldn't, after a while, I couldn't walk away without saying, hey, but what about this? Or what about, you know what I mean? And Greg Garcia, the creator of Earl, was always very, very cool.
Yeah. Well, once you care, once you get to the level of caring about every single aspect, all the minutia, there is no turning back.
There's absolutely no turning back. And keep in mind, Columbus Circle is my first post-Earl cancellation movie.
Okay.
So this thing that you've been seeing in terms of, let's talk about this, let's rip this thing apart and recreate it, or this kind of going mad in the name of trying to make it the best possible thing that it can be, comes from Earl.
Absolutely.
The 4 years on Earl.
Well, for those of us who've been at this a while, that was painfully obvious, and we were all painfully grateful, by the way, that all of that expertise was brought onto our little movie that was thunk up on a fucking plane, because quite frankly, you're only going to get so far with a script that's been written in 12 days, you know what I mean? And if everyone didn't lift it off the page and continue to make it grow, it doesn't get to the place that it got to. So, yeah, there were some people, I'm sure, along the way in the process who didn't know where it was coming from. But having been a little bit around the TV world, I sensed that. And we eventually talked about it, which is everything you learned about caring on Earl is not only going to go to your next film, in this case, Columbus Circle. You're stuck with it, buddy.
I know.
There's no getting away
like
from
it, though.
now.
I really like it,
Isn't
too.
it amazing? It's ridiculous.
It also keeps you kind of, it keeps you present and feeling responsible for the thing that you're involved in.
Right.
And so it...
the only thing that you have to be careful about is you'll look around and you'll see other people in a position of importance who don't care as much.
Yeah.
And to not have disdain for those people instantly is a really hard one. It really is. Because they're there as a member of the team, and they're in a place of import, and they just don't seem to care as much, and it's very disconcerting. You'll
I like it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. You know, it'll be tough though when, you know, who knows. I mean, George Gallo, the director of Columbus Circle, Chris Mallek, the producer, you, the other actors. I mean, I felt blessed that we were able to powwow every day, and the director never said, "I'm the director. F off."
Well, it'll be interesting.
I mean, and that's not always going to be the case.
No, it isn't.
That's not always going to be the case.
But
that's why I may just retire from acting.
Maybe
and just kind of play a little bit more behind the scenes.
Maybe you may, well, first of all, you definitely have to direct something soon. That has to happen.
Yeah.
Because what you learned on Earl was how to actually tell a story. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
And I'm just very anal retentive, man. I used to really resist that tremendously, but I've embraced my anal retentiveness.
Well, at some point, the chaos needs to go away.
Yeah.
And order starts to feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of the machine. Because I know working on the set sometimes, I'll just look around at the crew and I'm going, and you're sitting on your ass and you're waiting for the lighting change as an actor. And everybody in the crew is working. I mean, it's this. Everyone around you has this perfect, everyone is doing a job, and they're so focused on it. Sometimes I actually sit and kind of, I'll focus on one or two or three different people doing one particular task.
Yeah.
And I'll say, when I get up off my ass and finally start acting again, will I have that much focus? Will I be working with that much intent as those people getting those lights set up and moving that cable that I normally sort of sit around and go, yeah, get back to work. But look at them.
Yeah.
So I wish the people who I'm talking about who don't seem to care as much, you know, saw those guys.
I think you absolutely have to.
It is, we're at the 1 hour and 2 minute mark.
Okay.
We're going to take a little break.
Okay.
And during this break, we're going to show a little footage of past guests doing the Larry King game, but also reminding you at home that you can send in your own version of the Larry King game, some of which will be included in this clip package, by going to the YouTube channel Capo345 and uploading your videos of you playing the Larry King game, and we will show them on the air. Damn it, you'll be a part of this particular train wreck. Enjoy. We'll be back in 4.1 minutes. I have all my guests do something called the Larry King game. You do a bad Larry King impression, you reveal something about yourself on the air as Larry King, as if you're doing the show, and then you go to the phones. And the name of the city you go to, it helps if it's kind of funny sounding. I will give you an example of the whole thing. I can identify any member of the Supreme Court with one lick of the taint. Angel Falls, Maine, you're on.
And that's all the news that we have this evening from Kuala Lumpur. I do want to point out an episiotomy takes longer than you think. Kermit, Arizona.
When I'm alone, I like to snap my suspenders. It gets my nipples hard. Crackertown, Florida, you're on the air.
I'm sitting in my own sauce. Wichita, hello! Wichita?
What?
You're watching Larry King. I'm naked, I'm wearing a derby hat, and I'm on the internet. Ding dong, Texas. You're on the air.
On the show, our next guest is the woman I want to fuck, Dakota Fanning. Boca Raton, you're on the air. Is that right? Is that right?
No more calls, we've got a winner.
Coming up next, Tom Arnold and Maya Angelou, together again. I didn't know I had a son. Turns out he's older than I am. I don't know how that's possible, but he'll be up in our third segment. And Pueblo, Colorado, you're on the line.
Yes, yes.
I'm Larry King. Andy Rooney, Wilfred Brimley, and I all share the same cryogenically created torso. We're a human bobblehead. Monkey Brow, Arizona, you're on the air.
That's all it takes.
And just a side note, ever since my 82nd birthday, my poop looks like strawberry ice cream. Tastes like vanilla. Michigan Falls, Indiana, you're on the line.
One time I let a chick shove a brush up my ass. Beaver, Pennsylvania, you're on there.
That's all I was looking for. To be honest with you, that was really it. Yeah.
I find the human brain much too salty for daily consumption. French Lick, Indiana. Hello.
I figured out a cure for cancer, but I forgot where I wrote it down. Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo? Shit, Kalamazoo. If I'd have said Kalamazoo right.
Every time I say or hear Anderson Cooper's name, a little bit of pee trickles down my leg. Knoblick, Kentucky. Are you there?
In the fall of 1971 at an Arco station in Buttonwillow, I had my entire fist up Monty Hall's ass. So is that kind of what you're going for?
Go to the phone.
Butte, Montana. So there you go. I wanted to do a long one.
I find on my off time wearing thongs and tight leather pants to be quite relaxing. Bumpass, Virginia, you're on.
Walla Walla, Washington, you have a question. I have a prostate the size of a small boy's clenched fist. Go.
Official Dr. Khan Larry King game entry. You don't marry 7 different broads and maintain a respect for the vagina. Smiley Bird Kansas, you're on.
Yes, my first guest, Kevin Elliott Pollak. I shave my balls. Kevin, do you shave your balls?
Also, Kevin is from Weehawken, New Jersey. Do you shave your balls, Kevin?
I don't know how that. First of all,
I didn't incorporate it. Did I incorporate anything?
If there were a prize, I would be taking it away.
Because of blueness?
And that, my friend, is how the Larry King game works. I want to talk a little bit about the relaunch of Stereo before we get into the birth of your involvement with Earl, which we must discuss as well. The relaunching of Stereo, you said, comes in 2003.
Yep.
At that point, you'd done how many films? Chasing Amy was...
Since leaving and then starting it again.
Right. Where are we with the acting?
Maybe
2003?
6 or 7 movies.
Right.
8 movies.
Almost Famous had been done.
Yep.
My point is that things are going fairly well.
Yeah.
With the acting and the films. And are you... So you start skating again on your own because you miss it?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I didn't really skate, much at all.
You'd walked away and you said, I need a break.
Yeah.
And now the time passes. Because I took about 9 years off from doing stand-up myself. And I know that feeling of walking away from something that's your lifeblood for so long.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from it. And it was only a matter of time for me, too, before I came back to it and had to get back on stage.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it coming.
Right.
I did not see it coming.
And how did it come? How did it all of a sudden?
I ran into a skater at a birthday party. Hey, long time no see. What have you been? Oh, I have a skate park now, my own private indoor skate park. Oh, can I skate? Can I skate it?
That was it?
Yeah.
You found yourself asking that question?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I went and started skating, and that's when Chris and I hooked up again.
And how is it like riding a bike? Because you were at a level of competition where you probably are not very forgiving if it doesn't come back right away.
I mean, it definitely is like riding a bike, but you're rusty, you're a little bit older, and you got to kind of you got to refamiliarize yourself with.
Because the one thing that stood out for me in watching the footage of you as a young skater is that there's no pads, there's no helmet.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the time when you were skating. Those things hadn't really been introduced at the level you were skating at.
Still no pads or helmets on the street, just on the half pipes.
Right.
Maybe not the best idea.
Well,
a lot of people crack their heads.
Yeah. So when you come back to it in 2003 to launch Stereo, it's not just about you skating again.
No, it's to get back together with Chris and kind of try to go back to the way it used to be in those early days.
Right. And find other skaters to sponsor.
Yeah, and make a new video, and just the fun of creating the graphics, and we thought that it would be maybe exciting for skateboarding to see Stereo again. And to our surprise, because of how massive skateboarding is now, it was tough.
In
and
2003.
it still kind of is in a way. I mean, we're very much we're a little niche brand. We're like a
boutique kind of.
It's more of that kind of thing,
But isn't it now a series of boutiques, or is it used to be 2 or 3 or a handful of companies that dominated?
Yeah, I mean, there are...
Got to be dozens now.
It's sort of like, it's kind of like the movie industry, whereas in the 90s, a company like Stereo was the thing. It was very influential.
Right.
And, the indie film scene in the 90s was great, and now skateboarding now is massive, and it's sort of like, unless you're a young star skater, and it's or a big brand, it's really hard to get in there like it is being a small movie going up against Transformers or something.
Right.
Things are much bigger now.
Right.
Definitely more sort of corporate, and people's attention spans, I think, are suffering a little bit for whatever reason. But anyway, it's tougher. But we've still just kind of stuck with what we've known, and we definitely have fans, but it's harder nowadays for a company like Stereo to, you know, to be as big as it used to be back in the 90s.
And who's behind this video that I want to show with the 70s theme announcing the Stereo Sound Agency?
We had an idea to do a show, a half-hour kind of, not really like a variety show in a way, or, you know, because just the whole aesthetic of our brand and the sense of humor and the retro, the retro theme that we've had going since the early 90s, and the characters that we were really into Playboy After Dark.
Right.
You know, that show. We wanted to do something like that.
Sure.
And it didn't quite work out the way we had hoped. It was a little bit more produced and kind of scripted than... We were always a little bit more kind of grassroots and off the cuff, very spontaneous, the bits we would film for the skate videos. And it was very much our world now trying to fit into an MTV formula. And
right.
we kind of missed the mark a little bit. It didn't feel totally like our creation. But anyway, it was fun, and we got some good things out of it, but it didn't get picked up. Not get picked up.
May I still show this clip because it's unbelievably cool?
This is the intro, I guess, of the pilot.
I'm guessing that's what this is.
Okay.
So the Stereo clip. Let's roll that, please. Clip. Right. That would have been good to have here if we had the. Couldn't clear it. Well, congrats on making something unbelievably special, regardless of what Genius at some point said, not for us. It's just great when you can, again, just pour your heart and soul, which you guys obviously did, into something like that. And they can see extended versions of that at the website? You guys still, are you able to show it?
We probably should show it, shouldn't we?
I really,
I don't think it's on our site.
I would encourage
I think some of it's on YouTube.
Right. Oh, well, it absolutely is. And that's where it'll live forever, you know. But yeah, your fans should be able to see as much of that as you're allowed to share with them. Let's go to one of the questions here as we work our way into Earl. But before we do, you know what I was remiss in asking you? You know, we'll come back to the... I want to talk about the invention of the 360 flip kick, because...
I did not invent it.
Right.
So we can clear that up.
Yeah.
I mean, most people know that, but people mistake.
Well, I want to know about its actual genesis, and then your involvement in taking it clearly to the next level.
Okay.
So, what is the actual genesis?
Rodney Mullen, pro freestyle skater in the 80s, and then fading out the beginning of the 90s was freestyle skating. You know, where they do the handstands and a bunch of 360s. And
right.
Rodney Mullen essentially is, you know, he's responsible for doing things on a skinny freestyle board that guys like Mark Gonzalez would take to street boards, which are bigger, and you're doing those tricks now, jumping over things, and it wasn't all just kind of stationary on a tennis court, for example.
Right.
Rodney Mullen was the first, and he's on a, you know, he has a legendary status like a Tony Hawk, you know.
So you saw him do it?
Yeah, you know, after the fact, I had sort of remembered him doing it, but we wouldn't have known, I don't know that we would have known at the time that it was a 360 kickflip, because he was so fast and he did so many flip tricks with the board and so many combinations and variations.
Right. He didn't stop to name them.
Yeah, and it was sort of like, and then, you know, we were doing at the time kickflips where it's just you ollie and you flip the board with your front foot and it just flips over and you land back on it.
Right.
And then I was kind of experimenting with trying to get it all the way around. We were doing 180 varial kickflips, and I was trying to get the board all the way around on a street board, which was much bigger and heavier than a little freestyle board.
Right.
And then I eventually did it. I think I was 16 or 17, so this would have been 86, 87. I eventually got the board all the way around in my mom's backyard, on a little slab of concrete, and I rushed down to the school that we would all skate at. I said, guys, look, watch this.
Yeah.
But Rodney Mullen definitely invented it.
Right. So, like I said, he didn't stop to name all these various little trick moves that he did.
Yeah.
Did you, when you started doing it, did you give it a name, the 360 kickflip, or?
Well, technically, that's what it would have been.
Right.
So,
but
no,
it was a move that suddenly was interjected.
Apparently, I guess I made it popular
Right.
in the street skating realm.
Yeah.
I guess the first to do it on a bigger street board.
Yeah. And so then it begs the question, is there any way in hell that he could still possibly do it? And let's run this last clip, please. Just so people not only get a chance to see what the 360 flip is, but to see what the old man can actually do on the board still. Hate to beat this to death, but you're an idiot if you were expecting a clip at this point. The slow-mo of that is just sick.
Yeah, that had some pop.
Yeah.
That had a little bit of pop.
And you point out in the clip that you were wearing slippers.
Yeah.
And they were, what did you say they were? Kmart corduroy?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Kmart corduroy.
Right.
Slippers.
Which you still wear to this day, I noticed on the set.
Yeah, I do a lot of slippers. It's comfortable. And then I get home, I do the opposite, I guess. I take the slippers off when I get home instead of putting slippers on. And
you get home,
I put my boots on when I get home.
And by boots, of course, you mean high heels. Now, another thing we like to do on the show, because I insist on it involving our audience. This is everybody's show. My name is on the title. We have a thing called the Tweet 5. It's just a rapid fire salt or pepper, ice cream, or frozen yogurt kind of thing. This comes from @Pig Pushy Lover, I'm guessing. What do you think?
PGA stands for Pittsburgh. PGH.
Of course, PGH stands for Pittsburgh. What? Has that always been the?
It does.
Okay. Pittsburgh Pushy Lover is what we're looking at. And boy, are you. All right, this tweet 5 from @PGH Pushy Lover. Marvel or DC? Right? Not so easy. Given your...
No comment.
Oh, nice! Nice! That's certainly allowed. Funniest co-star? No pressure, sir.
Oh, really? No pressure?
Ethan.
Really?
I got to go with Ethan.
Me too.
Yeah. Ethan's a fucking rock star. From My Name is Earl.
And Ethan did tell me, please let everybody know that he's on Twitter, and he would very much like
really?
everybody to join his Twitter.
Is he at just his name?
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
Yeah.
so please, folks, damn it. In fact, if there's any chance in hell that you're watching, Ethan, why don't you go ahead and hit us at Kevin Pollak with your exact information. We'll be happy to pass that along. All right, getting back to the tweet 5. What would your career be if you didn't skate or act? Wow. What the hell else was there?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really genuinely have zero clue.
I'm the same
Because
way.
everything has come from something that I've already done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't say directing.
No.
Or because I wouldn't know about directing had I not become an actor. So I genuinely have zero idea.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There was no looking back for me. It was easy for me to graduate college in 9 months because I had no reason to be there. Better mustache, Stan Lee or Burt Reynolds?
Burt.
Yeah, right?
No.
A little more classic.
No.
So that was painless as a tweet 5, other than the no comment on Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
Now, that must be in some sort of reference, perhaps, to a character you played in a film that you're interested in the Marvel or the DC.
Kevin Smith is a big comic fan, of course, right? I did Mallrats and did not know anything about comics. Mallrats premiered at the Comic-Con in San Diego, and I was genuinely nervous. Yeah, I said, Kevin, I was a skateboard kid. I didn't read comics, and I'm playing this character, and you already have this following.
Yeah.
Am I going to get my ass kicked?
Because they know
At the
I'm a
Comic-Con.
poser.
What am I going to say? Spider-Man. Yeah, that's my favorite. Spider-Man.
There's no right answer.
Spider-Man. What about this cool underground thing? Don't you, what? Oh yeah, that guy's cool too.
Right.
I had no idea.
So what happened when you went there?
I think I said Spider-Man. And then ran.
Right. Was it pretty awesome or just?
No, they were all very, very cool.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They loved seeing it.
They must have loved the character in Chasing Amy as well. Those same. This tweet 5 comes from Elaine. Is it Ewing? It is Ewing. I always say it wrong. I'm so sorry, Elaine. At Elaine Ewing, one of our 17 regulars.
Really?
Yep. Okay. Oscar, Emmy, or Independent Spirit Award, which you picked up an Independent Spirit Award.
Yeah.
Did you not?
Chasing Amy.
For Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor.
Yes.
Nicely done, sir. So Oscar, Emmy, or Independent Spirit Award? I'm not sure. What are they asking? Which one would you rather have, I guess? Yeah. Which one would you rather have? Street cred? TV's golden man?
You know what?
Yeah.
Probably going to sound, I don't know what the word is, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Is that
I think it's honest.
unacceptable?
I think it's
answer?
an honest answer.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Certainly to go, I want to win an Oscar, so I'm gonna. I don't know if that really. I think you just do the work and then.
Yeah. See, now I thought you meant it doesn't matter which one as long as they give me one of them.
No, it doesn't matter. No.
But when you got this Independent Spirit Award,
Yeah.
because that's a different kind of street cred in that independent spirit,
Yeah.
did it hold some weight for you when you picked it up at the time? Or did it just seem like
You
a
know what?
folly?
What held weight was that Kevin put me in the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
The awards are so great for like 9 seconds.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, again, Mallrats didn't do well, you know, so I was kind of maybe banking on Mallrats to kind of launch this new career.
Right.
Mallrats opened and all you could hear were crickets.
Right.
You know what I mean? So where was I going to go had it not been for Kevin saying, I've written this part for you in Chasing Amy, you know? So
that award...
It was really to say thanks to Kevin, you know?
Yeah. That's pretty damn cool. Shockingly, another mustache question.
Okay.
But this one comes in the form of mustache, beard, or soul patch.
Beard. Yeah.
You were rocking the beard early on in life.
Yeah, I just don't like the shave.
Yeah, yeah.
You get the rash, and
Sure.
I just grow it out.
This one very hard, if not the hardest by far, so brace yourself.
Okay.
And take your time.
Okay.
Alvin, Simon, or Theodore?
Theodore.
Really? Just like that?
Yeah.
Wow. Because he gave the reach around as well? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Cutest.
All right.
I mean,
enough said.
Simply the cutest.
Taco or hot dog? Not easy for you.
Taco, buddy.
It is.
Yeah, I can't, you know.
That's
a dog once a year. Tacos every day.
Every single day. You're going to have to try Paco's Taco, by the way, out by us when you get 9 seconds.
Paco's Taco.
Yeah.
That's catchy.
Yeah, yeah. And as a way to bring it home, the way that only at Elaine Ewing can, booty or booby? Are you an ass man or a cleavage man? Really? More time than Theodore? That's not loaded? Come on. You know what? You let that one simmer. I'm gonna segue to something that I'm. I know that we've talked about your influences by Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles, and we've talked about the comedy of yesteryear and the timing of it all and the essence of it, as opposed to booty or booby jokes that seem so prevalent in the comedies today, the R-rated comedies today, all the rage. And you know, Jamie and I were talking. She makes a great point about the newest Borat. Thank you, Bruno. In that it's brilliant for doing what he does, but it's so blue. And Jesus, at some point, it's just really that's still why it's supposed to be funny. And then you take something like Chaplin's, you know, so much of what he did, if not all of it. And the time and the choreography of the bit. And you were making a point, I remember, about how he could make you cry and laugh in one scene. How much of that influenced what you then do on something like Earl, where you have the opportunity to spend all day, every day, all week? Do you strive for those sort of beats?
Within the context of, you know,
whatever the story
My
is.
Name is Earl, yeah. I mean, definitely from the beginning, Greg and I had talked a lot about, you know, the likability of the guy.
Right.
And why do you like somebody like that who's ultimately done a lot of wrong? His innocence. He's ignorant versus arrogant.
Right.
He's a little bit man-child, means well, discovers this new concept, karma. Oh, well, if I want a better life, I better right my wrongs. If it's just a redneck show with some just, you know, and this guy's just kind of cold and yeah, it just doesn't work. I don't even think it works if it's just funny redneck content. I just don't know. I mean, so, and we got a lot of feedback from people about the sweetness of Earl, you know, crossing things off his list with that kind of smile, and you know, life's getting the buttoning up of an episode, the satisfying feeling of righting a wrong.
Yeah.
With this chaotic, weird backdrop, you know, with Jamie Presley's character and Crabman and the mustache, and in the midst of all this, you have this kind of sweetness. So that was the driving force behind the show. So I think, and I think why Chaplin was so good is because I think he was a humanist. You know, I think he recognized that all of the things he's demonstrating for us happen in real life. And, you know, he's the little tramp. You know, this is a guy who's getting into some trouble. He's taking cigarette butts off the sidewalk because he doesn't have much money and relighting people's dead cigarettes. And he's a little bit suspicious, but he's also unbelievable character, the little tramp. And so I'm more personally interested in that.
The humanity.
And you go to Being There with Sellers, and you go to The Jerk with Steve Martin as Navin Johnson. And even into the 90s with Jim Carrey, you know, movies like Liar Liar, where it's like even Dumb and Dumber, which, you know, might be considered stupid because it's not gritty, smart. I mean, I can watch Dumb and Dumber as much as I can watch The Jerk or Fletch or the Vacation movies. I mean, Chevy Chase was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's gotten a little bit lost. So I try to just you know, I'm more interested in trying to be a part of projects where, and the TV pilot that I wrote that we're shopping around right now, it's very much in the vein of this trend in comedy, but the guy is so likable and so earnest and innocent that you want to follow this guy through his journey. I think to have that balance, I think it's going to come back full circle and maybe and get back to the way it used to be, because I don't think it's lasting enough if it's just about cool.
Yeah.
Or self-deprecating humor. I think it's going to go away eventually.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't last. You know, John Hughes. I'll watch a John Hughes 16 Candles. I mean, it's like that kind of 80s nerdy innocence, but it's not ironic. It's not people now playing off of that in an ironic way. That's just the way things were back then.
Right.
And I love John Hughes, and I think he's gotten a little lost, and I think he's a little bit underrated now. Whereas in the 80s, he was like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I miss him and what he brought to the game a
Yeah.
lot, and a lot of it is about heart.
Yeah.
I have to ask, again, perhaps for Jamie, she brought this up, and I thought, oh my God, and I mentioned to you the other day, but whose idea was it where every picture that Earl took, his eyes were closed? That sort of nuance for a fan, that sort of consistency and nuance is pretty great.
That was Greg.
Yeah.
That was Greg Garcia. And a lot of people caught that, which was great.
It's like every time.
Yeah.
Not just sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
The consistency of it is why it's so damn funny. How was that experience for you? Because I had heard that the script for Earl came your way a couple of times in terms of getting involved in the project, and you weren't all that interested at first. But what was the process of that job, getting or doing that job?
Getting the script and my manager saying, I know you don't want to do TV, but they really want you to read this script. Greg Garcia, the writer of it, I said...
He came from, by the way, where did Greg come from?
Greg came from Yes Dear, a CBS 4-camera sitcom.
About as down the middle as one can get.
Yeah. And I said, no, I can't, I can't do TV. I can't do it. I just, no. Please read. I read it and I was like, God, it's good. Shit.
Yeah.
Nope, I can't do it. And I really went back and forth a lot, and I drove a lot of people nuts.
Its problem comes from being of that quality, whether it's film or TV, wherever you're searching, when the great quality of material comes along, it won't get out of your head.
Yeah, basically I couldn't, after a while, I couldn't just use the it's TV excuse, because I kept going back to the material and the potential. And so, but then I'd think, oh, the commitment, oh, and the early call times, and how many scenes I'm gonna, oh, it's gonna be.
People don't understand actually. Single camera, half hour, I believe, is the hardest job, time-wise, in show business. It's even worse than the hour dramas that you hear all the actors and actresses from hour dramas say, we did 18-hour days. It's people have no idea. Half-hour single camera is even harder time-wise, isn't it?
We did 6 pages a day, 12 to 13 to 14. You know, we had to do 30-page scripts in 5 days. And Earl was very involved. There was a lot of voiceover, a lot of on-location stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it got really overwhelming at times, squeezing all that into 21-plus minutes.
On a weekend.
Trying to make a little movie every week.
And unlike the sitcom world where you do 3 and you're off a week, you do 3 and you're off a week, were you guys on the schedule of a drama where you just shoot straight through?
I mean, you know, it wasn't 3-1, 3-1. Sometimes it was 5-1, 4-1. A couple times we did 6 or 7 in a row kind of thing. And we did at one point 27 episodes one season.
Right. It seems never ending.
Yeah, and just the mustache. I mean, it was tough. I mean, I got to be honest. I'm certainly not complaining because, like I said, I learned so much being on that show. But after having that mustache after a while and the hair and like...
Because initially the mustache is fantastic. It's a lark. It's hilarious. It's a great thing to commit to. And then at what point during season 2 do you just want to rip it off your face?
After 9 minutes of the pilot, you know, the novelty wore off.
Oh my
very
God,
fast.
what have I done?
But you know, it really worked. It totally worked.
Oh yeah,
for it.
I mean, why else do you get questions of comparing mustaches to this person or the other? It's in the annals, if you will. At Martha_S offers this tweet: 5 ready, sir. And by the way, your Larry King game is coming up, so start to think.
Okay.
Deep sea or deep space?
Deep space.
Right?
Yeah, I don't do the shark thing, like I said earlier.
And does that come from the movie Jaws?
Probably, man. I mean, I can't even swim in my own pool unless I've got a lifeguard or somebody standing by, watching out for sharks.
How acute is the uncomfortable, or dare I say, fear of the shark? How acute? What are we talking about here?
So do you want your legs ripped off when you're rafting in the ocean with the kids on a Sunday?
Who doesn't?
No, I want to be on the beach.
All right. Skateboards or photography? We haven't even talked yet about the photography guy.
That'll be chapter 2.
All right. And that is a huge part of your life at present.
Which came from the acting thing, you know.
Right.
So.
Right. So, skateboards or photography? I mean, it's not really a fair question. But
no, because they each have their value, you know.
Yeah. You're refusing. Again, that's fine. Coincidence or fate to choose?
Yeah, it's impossible, you know.
Coincidence or fate? Which one do you?
Sometimes coincidence, sometimes fate.
Right. There are points that.
Yeah, they kind of they trade shifts.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. I'm gonna go get a coffee. You know.
There are moments where they are one. I know I'm a big believer in. Everything can't be faded out. That suggests that it's all been orchestrated by some sort of
no, because
entity.
there's fluke.
Yeah.
You know, there's fluke. There's coincidence. There's
There's the drop the feather in the pool in China thing too. But also I'm standing in a P.O. box in Santa Monica, and it's got a glass wall, and next to it is a Starbucks that has a glass wall, and across the street there's a gas station, and this happened 36 hours ago. A car comes barreling out of the gas station across the street doing maybe 50 miles an hour in reverse, headed straight towards the P.O. box, straight window wall, and there are 20 of us inside as this car goes like a rocket from across the street, heading right towards us, driven by an 80-year-old man who I'm thinking had a mini stroke, because there's no reason for a car to do 50 out of a gas station in reverse. And at the last second, it makes a turn. And when I say last second, I mean 10 feet from penetrating the glass wall that I stand 6 feet behind. He makes a turn and somehow avoids the Starbucks next to us as well. I'll raise my hand a little so you can see. And slams in the only safe spot, which is the corner of the building, a cement pillar that stops it, and the back end of this car is totaled. He gets out of the car, is fine. If it misses the glass wall and goes beyond that, it goes out into Wilshire Boulevard, where there are, at that point, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, endless cars and people about to be wildly injured. That ridiculous right angle that hit that wall and stopped everyone from getting hurt by that.
Yeah.
That's not a part of, check. That being orchestrated and being a part of fate as a belief makes me want to slap somebody silly. I've got 17 more minutes on the subject that I'll come back to.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's, because I want to make sure we include as many of these fine folks as we can while I'm trying to stall the Larry King game, which again, I'm going to stop warning you that it's coming. Focus primarily on movies now. When you're doing a TV series, should the right project come along? Yeah, good. From Ryzen 72 comes, you're going to be primarily focused on movies now, or you mentioned you wrote this pilot that you're shopping around, but this first experience after Earl, being Columbus Circle, where you kind of got to not only have a stamp on the role, I can say as the co-author of the film, but you got to be as involved as an actor for hire as one could be. So in terms of that level of experience, how does that inform what you want to do next?
I think definitely still acting, movies, but just again because of the Earl experience, wanting to branch out. You know, I mean, it's only natural, I think. So I still want to do movies, and you know, I'm trying to develop this TV show. Maybe do a few seasons of that if I'm lucky, and direct films, produce, you know, just play.
Yeah.
You know,
and,
why not?
And you should direct something, that's crystal clear, as a coworker. Will you just look for material, or will you try to generate it from within?
Anything.
Right.
You know?
Whatever the right piece is, it'll make sense.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's a hard one in terms of when you decide that you're ready to do it. I actually met with our producers, Schumann and Sherrick, 8, 9 years ago. They brought me a script that they wanted me to direct that just showed up out of the blue, like a couple of young kids. Will you direct this? And my head wasn't there.
Yeah.
And the script didn't blow my mind, so it was fairly easy to say no.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do or think in these terms this specifically pre-Earl.
There's no way.
No.
Now you know too much.
Yeah.
Now there's no going back. All right. This will be the last Tweet 5 as we wrap things up here. This comes from a name I can't possibly, from the chat room, not from the Twitter, but I like the Tweet 5 coming from the chat room. Morusek, something.
Morusek.
Flannel
Was
or
that at all?
T-shirt?
No.
You're there. No, it has to be bad. It can't be great.
Okay.
Flannel or T-shirt on the Tweet 5? Really, again, because Theodore came right at you.
Both.
Beer.
Flannel over a T-shirt.
Nice. Beer or whiskey?
Beer.
New York, Hollywood, or Jersey? I'm thinking none.
Yeah.
Forgive me for knowing. Comics or video games?
Comics.
And the last one, and most importantly, lose your legs or the ability to speak?
Ability to speak.
Wow. Because you can always skate.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. I can't thank you enough for being here. There must be a phase 2, a part 2, another visit, because I really would, and then maybe you'll bring some stuff
pictures.
From the photography.
Some pictures, yeah.
How long have you been doing it now?
About 9 years.
Oh, really? That long?
Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea it was that long. All right. Prepare it. It must be a bad Larry King impression. Reveal something about yourself as Larry, right? And then go to the phones, if possible, the name of the city, funny sounding, into that camera.
Wait, from where? What?
When you are ready.
I didn't get any of that, Kevin.
Okay.
I still don't take direction very well.
Okay, so you're going to do a bad Larry King impression.
Okay, Larry King.
Yeah, and then as Larry, as
Okay.
if on the air,
Okay.
you reveal something about yourself, like I'm sitting in my own shed.
Okay.
All right? And then, I don't know why that's the go-to, but it's just an example. And then you go to the phones, Sioux City, hello. And it helps if the name of the city, if possible, is funny sounding. So bad Larry King impression, reveal something about yourself, go to the phones. Those are the 3 moments. When you're ready, into that camera, please.
All right, I'm so sorry,
I
Kevin.
thought that was Larry.
That's it. That's it.
Now go to the phones and you're done.
You'll have to forgive me. I just shot my pants.
Skateboards disaster when you were on the air. I helped you through it as much as I could. All right. Thanks so much for being here, Broseph. If you want to be off the hook, I will let you off.
Yay!
You gave it the perfect skater pass, which is to say you took a shot at it. And as long as you'll come back, you can prepare yourself for the next round.
All right.
Really, it means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it.
Me too.
We're going to go to our wrap party now. I'm going to look into this camera and bid everyone a farewell. I want to thank the hardworking crew. Let's take a look at them as they... wait, it seems Sam Levine may have taken over the crew. He's got a weapon. This is not going well at all. My God, what's happened? We have a hostage situation here down at Mahalo Studios. Somebody called 911. We're still on the air. I'm going to go wrap up the show here so I can try to help Sam off the M16 in the clock tower. And I want to thank everybody at home watching. And if you are watching from a download on the iTunes, thank you for making us a part of your world thusly. And we'll see you next week live from New York with Craig Bierko. Until then, as always, get out of my face.
He's all of the rainbows, but none of the rain. He's dry, but he's an alcoholic. He's hosting this train wreck again and again. And he wears a hat. He's carrying